Hi, it's Paula. And this is the Common Book Show. I'm here today with a bunch of people. So I have, of course, Richard and Nessa.
Don't you mean a cast of characters?
Yes, definitely. Jason and
Sanford.
That's beautiful. That's a stylist.
And Virginia, which is
image.
really awesome because I'm going to read something she posted on Facebook, and of course my son Tom on drums because he's always here because he's great.
They're Ludwigs.
Except when he isn't.
So, all right, now this Virginia posted and I shared it, and I just really thought this was beautifully written. Okay. A woman should have enough money within her control to move out and rent a place of her own, even if she never wants or needs to. Something perfect to wear if the employer or date of her dreams wants to see her in an hour. A woman should have a youth she's content to leave behind, a past juicy enough that she's looking forward to retelling it in her old age. A set of screwdrivers, a cordless drill, and a lace bra. One friend who always makes her laugh and one who lets her cry. A woman should have a good piece of furniture not previously owned by anyone else in her family. 8 matching plates, wine glasses with stems, and a recipe for a meal that will make her guests feel honored. A woman should have a feeling of control over her destiny, the right to know how to fall in love without losing herself. Every woman should know how to quit a job, break up with a lover, and confront a friend without ruining the friendship. Every woman should know when to try harder and when to walk away. Every woman should know that she can't change the length of her calves, the width of her hips, or the nature of her parents, and that her childhood may not have been perfect, but it's over. Every woman should know what she would and wouldn't do for love or more, how to live alone, even if she doesn't like it. Every woman should know whom she can trust, whom she can't, and why she shouldn't take it personally. Every woman should know where to go, be it to her best friend's kitchen table or a charming inn in the woods when her soul needs soothing. Every woman should know what she can and can't accomplish in a day, a month, and a year. It was written by Pamela Redmond Satran and John Gyro.
A dude? He's writing what women should know?
Well, he's writing it in conjunction with this woman. I don't think there's...
Well, that's sort of disingenuous.
No, I don't think so at all. Because
there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Because Greg is very in tune with women's overall makeup and what they need.
Greg's a woman.
Greg is not a woman.
James
I
Joyce.
can guarantee that.
James Joyce and Ulysses, that whole one, like the second last chapter, I can't remember what it is, but it's all about a woman's sexuality from a woman's perspective, written by a man. And it's rather brilliant.
And Hawthorne writes women. I just read the Scarlet Letter. Mm-hmm. And he wrote about that woman with such compassion and such empathy that I
We also can go further, like what should a human know? But then there could also be a side version, another version of what should men know.
Yeah, that's true. There could be.
There could be 3 variations.
But in this case, these were. It was very succinct. I thought, Virginia. I thought that there were so many little nuances because a lot of women don't know. I mean,
they don't have the 8 plates.
I started thinking about all the things that the first time I had to confront my boss. The first time I had a boss and he talked wrong to me and I had to confront him. I threw up after I did it, but I did it. And after the next time I had to do that in a situation, I was able to do it, but I had to make that step because we're trained not to say anything. We're trained not to be that person, but we have to know how to take care of ourselves because it enriches our lives and makes us more independent. So,
but for every glorious diamond, there's a Phyllis Schlafly.
Well, Phyllis Schlafly is that woman that's the
dead Kennedys don't like her. She's in their
the
lyrics.
one that she says every woman should be a wife and a mother and that.
Yeah,
God.
And you know, for
she's like an Anita Bryant
but there's two. But every woman is different. There's
That's
one,
true. So that can't apply then, can
there
it?
is a
'Cause it's a blanket statement.
There's a woman out there that's what she really wants. She wants.
really wants, like
She
the Spice
wants
Girls.
to get married.
Yeah.
She wants to have children. She wants to bake
But
I wanna
that
bake.
woman has to be free to be able to do that. But there's another woman who doesn't want that.
But
Bacon
that's the
bake.
thing.
That's
They're
right.
all anonymous,
That's right.
though.
That is right.
Or what are you saying, Jason?
But they're all anonymous. It's when somebody has a public
Persona.
statement. I mean, I'm all in favor of equality for women. You know, because I said, let women come to the military school. Half the guys couldn't make the cut, so have at it. You know, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Give everybody the same standard.
Sure.
Well, I agree with that.
You know, and that's
I don't want, I agree with that. But the thing is, women have to be treated like if you had a whole classroom filled with men.
how old?
St. Joe's.
Let's say 18-year-old
Canisius.
men. Okay, you're looking at these guys, and you're not thinking all of these guys should be on the same track for the same future. You're
Right.
thinking this guy's going to be a lawyer, this guy's going to be a doctor,
This guy's gonna be a degenerate alcoholic.
He's
guy's gonna be a
he's gonna
homeless
build
man.
things. But with women for a long time, not as much now, but hopefully it's not going back that way.
It is.
You would look at a room full of women, and you'd have them all in little pillbox hats with a carriage and a
seraphim.
husband and living not being able to go out to work.
60% of current med students are female,
That's good.
and 70% of current vet students are female.
Right.
So,
but no, I'm saying it. But there was a long
Well,
period of time when
let
this.
me tell you what. There was a nurse from the hospital in town in Lexington, where I went to college.
Kentucky?
No, Virginia.
Okay.
And her sister, this nurse's sister, came in from Arizona, and they went to a parade on Friday. Because every Friday we just had a parade, and the sister from Arizona said, "I've never seen so many unmarried white men in the same place at one time."
Was it a pride
That's-
parade?
No, it was a military school. Why do you
Oh.
got to take the weirdest point all the time?
Because I'm weird.
Well,
Yeah.
but
right. So
It was like the squeaky
I'm not
tank
s-
parade.
I am certainly not saying that that people shouldn't. I mean, the idea of a strong partnership can be a very important thing in someone's life.
Like Lennon and McCartney.
Right, like Lennon and McCartney, or like Lennon and Yoko.
Oh yeah, Lennon and Yoko, definitely.
It could
Right.
It could be an important part. Not everyone is cut out for it, but it could be an important part in people's lives. And I'm not arguing against it. What I am arguing against is that every person should be categorized based on their genitalia.
I must say,
Well, there-
you're maybe you're categorizing people based on that by saying women should instead of humans should.
Well, may I say something?
Yes.
no.
Stop. Don't listen to him, Virginia.
He's fun.
He's a lot of fun. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm 68 years old.
Really?
And I joined the military
Well, I-
when
what
I was
service?
young.
For some reason, I'm not. Oh,
And
I know, just fell out.
I was in the United States Air Force, and
Oh, the
because
Air
I
Force.
joined the military, people made certain assumptions about me that aren't correct.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the way I look, people made certain assumptions about me which aren't correct. And because of the way I act, people make certain assumptions about me still that aren't correct. But at the bottom line of all these incorrect assumptions is that I'm a female. And so it's very important what this prose had to say for women in general through history in this nation and the world. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I'm not discounting the fact that there are men who might be categorized in a certain. I mean, but it's not the same thing.
Hey Paula, we got to also bring up the The thing no one ever talks about, intersex people. They exist.
That's true.
Yeah, but not to. I mean, that's more of a statistical anomaly. It's
It's
not
an
like-
anomaly, but they exist.
No, they
Well-
exist. I know.
a
Okay,
thing.
I worked at Children's Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in the kidney department. I was I'm not saying it happens every day, but I was very surprised at the amount of children that were born with both sexes, and they had to make a decision at birth. I was surprised. I worked there 2 years, and I was surprised.
Well, I mean, that's considering 10 million babies are born per year in China. 1.5 million babies are born per year in the U.S. So worldwide, you have about 100 million babies being born every year. Out of that 100 million, 10,000, which in one place looks like a lot.
Yeah, no.
But it's like Lilydale being all
It
psychic.
is
No, I
still
get it.
not zero.
right.
It counts.
Yeah, no, it's still not zero. That's what that. But the thing is,
Fair enough.
But with right, so that isn't, and we right now we have a big problem in the government trying to reject the fact that anybody exists that's not exactly 100% male or 100% female.
If you're not a white, non-Jewish male, you don't count to any
Caucasian.
of those guys.
Yeah, that's
You don't
true.
count if you're Asian. You don't count if you're Native American.
Well,
so you
they'll
can't
send
say,
you out of the country,
Yeah.
Do you know what the
You have to
paper
be
bag test?
Caucasian, or European descent, colonizer, descendant, white.
Do you know what
patriarch,
colorism is?
Christo-fascist male.
Colorism, I don't know.
Colorism was a thing in the 20s, especially. The black fraternities had the paper bag
Oh, yeah.
test. They would take a paper bag and hold up your skin. If you were darker than the paper bag, you weren't allowed in the fraternity.
They still have that in many cultures. The
Wow.
lighter your skin, the more you're
Wow,
respected.
where is that?
Even in
that's-
Korea.
That was HBCUs. Well, that's also in North and South India, and that's also in.
Haiti.
It happens
Used
everywhere.
to be in Haiti.
It happens
Wow,
everywhere.
really?
Oh yeah,
always
there are
has.
whole charts of you
That's
you had a
crazy.
The lighter
different
they
social
hue, the better
status.
they think you are.
Yeah.
Internationally, just about every culture has that bias.
Well-
Unfortunately, but it exists.
Where do you think the term high yellow came from?
Oh no, I know what that is. Yeah, for sure. That's,
Tell me about that.
Well, no, it had to do with the color of the paper bag, the high yellow.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about Asians?
No,
No,
that's a
it's-
No, we're
derogatory
talking
term.
about African Americans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Oh,
yeah,
African-American?
African Americans.
All right.
Yeah.
Although-
Oh, yeah,
if
right, that's
somebody,
right.
if somebody was a fair skinned African American, they were considered high yellow. And you know what? There was a lot of prejudice in the African American community against people who were high yellow.
Like Billie Holiday?
Billie Holiday, no, I don't think
That's
so.
okay.
Jennifer Churchill.
Lorna-
One of the
Lena
actors that
Horne?
women couldn't perform as fast as the man.
But
What is the argument here? They're still into that.
that there, I have
Who
a.
is this person?
He's right.
So
Nice comment.
I just was reading that. I'm off track now.
Yeah, that. But I have a colleague from high school who Dwayne was. He still is a black man, but he would say when his mother got mad at him, she said, "Get your high yellow ass out of here." That's what she would even say that to him.
Yeah, right. But I mean, and that's
I thought it meant an Asian person who was smoking a lot of dope.
no, not that.
No, your
kind of-
literalism and your
Like
combining
my
of,
autism at work.
Yeah.
that.
All right.
Although one of the funniest things that I think I've seen online is the dispassionate way
James
of
is
things
here.
on Wikipedia, like list of ethnic slurs by race, because
Ooh,
one
that
said
sounds fascinating.
No, one said jungle bunny. It says an African American, but it says
Yeah.
for the actual lupin living in the rainforest. Go to here.
Oh, God.
A
Lupin
literal.
Oh, right. Yeah,
So
Lupin.
okay,
Mhm.
all right. I want to get off. I want to get
Watership
off.
Down. That's
I
a
wanna
great
get off
book.
this-
Speaking of books, that's
I
also
wanna-
about books.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about books, and
Lisa
Sanford's-
Montalban has a new comic out. That's a book.
Hi, yeah.
Go get it.
We need it. We need another.
Stop in and say hi.
We need another. Just
Where?
see.
Well, she sits on his
you got
lap.
one. Okay. All right. Sit down and join us, please.
Or James sits on her lap.
Okay. So we are supposed to.
Chaos.
We're supposed to be talking about books, okay? So, and Sanford brought a book that I'm interested in, and I'd love to hear
Is it the
something.
Trump Bible?
No, it's not.
Good.
No, that implies that he can read. And
I know,
can't-
but he has that Bible he sells. Not that he can read it.
Can
Oh.
we get back to the point here, because this is getting frustrating.
Getting to the point. Isn't that a record? Who made that album? It's called Getting to the Point.
Okay, all right. hold on.
No.
I want.
Savoy Brown.
I've
Getting to the
lost
point. It's
control
their
of it.
first album.
Listen,
Yeah,
Nessa,
hi.
this show is supposed to be about books.
Right, it's about books.
And
I brought that up.
Sanford brought a book. And
Okay,
I
let's
would
talk
like
about it.
Sanford to talk about it, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
everybody. This is a great book. As you guys know, I was forced into teaching psychology and 2 years ago, and I've since come to really love it as a subject. And I think I've grown a lot as a person studying this subject. I don't consider myself an expert by any manner of means in any field. I'm a student.
What about teacher? I thought you were an expert teacher.
This book is called The Master and His Emissary, The Divided Brain and the Making of the Western World by Ian McGilchrist, who is a neuroscientist. And James, hi. The essence of the book, if I was to just boil this down, because I've only read about a quarter of it at this point, the first half of the book discusses the differences between the left and the right hemisphere in great detail, with specific examples and lots of research to back it up. And the first point of the book is that conventional wisdom about the differences between the left and right brain have been oversimplified and are very inaccurate. Okay? It's much more subtle and far more nuanced than that. The second point that he makes in the book, which I think is the main idea, is that traditionally we have assumed that the left brain, with its logic and its ability to manipulate facts to the point of abstraction, is the dominant hemisphere, but it isn't. It's actually the right hemisphere, with its ability to be contextual, to understand metaphor, to understand irony, to understand theory of mind. Are you familiar with the concept of theory of mind? Theory of mind means I understand and can empathize how someone else feels.
Okay.
So it's able to place this into context and give meaning to the work that the left hemisphere does. The other point, and forgive me for going on, but it's really, I can't just summarize this in a sentence. It's impossible.
It's fine.
The other really important point that he makes is that traditionally and inaccurately, it was assumed that the left brain is for language and mathematics, and that the right brain doesn't have much to do with that. On the contrary, they both are profoundly important in the way in which they engage with language, with mathematics. It's just that they do it in different ways. So it's not what, it's the how that's different. The second half, the conclusion that he comes to in the first half of the book, that it is indeed the right hemisphere which is more, not good or bad, but it's more dominant. It's more important for the human being, ultimately. You can't do without the left either.
Right.
But the second half of the book talks about civilization and how, and I haven't gotten there yet, but how our reliance in Western civilization, over-reliance on the left hemisphere, the functioning of the left hemisphere, has been at our own peril. That the foundation of Western civilization has neglected what should be the dominant hemisphere, the right hemisphere.
I'm very interested.
It is
in
absolutely
this.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, if he were here, he would probably say,
I
Sanford,
agree.
that's a terrible assessment
the
of
whole
my book,
thing
but-
with polarizing points like left, right, good, bad, God, devil, that's a very colonial Western thing, but in reality, things are more fluid and interact with each other, like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that
That's
has
true.
been mentioned, though, is redundancy, because I took out this pen because your Broca's area is the size of that ball on that ballpoint pen. I don't know if you can focus in, but that's less than a millimeter in size. You stroke that, you can't speak. You get a broken aphasia. You go, it's the size of the ball on a ballpoint pen to throw a clot in there. You know how easy that is? I mean, and also...
So you're talking about the physicality of the brain.
But but that's all. I've said that to Richard. It's all psychiatry looks at the mind, and neurology looks at the brain.
So is this book more mind
True.
or brain?
I think it's more mine.
It's both.
Yeah.
It's book. Can I read just a very short
sure.
excerpt from
Sure.
the book?
Oh, please do.
He does a whole chapter on music, on truth, and on language, and time, and all these different. This just gives you an idea about what he talks about in time and how he writes. Music, like narrative, the experiences of our lives as we live them, unfolds in time. The movement of time is what makes music what it is. Not just that it has ictus and rhythm. Its structure extends through and across time, depending on memory to hold it together. Time is the context that gives meaning to everything in this world, and conversely, everything that has meaning for us in this world, everything that has a place in our lives exists in time. This is not true of abstractions and representations of entities, which is all left brain stuff. But all that is a subject of time. The sense of time passing is associated with sustained attention, and even if for that reason alone, it is only to be expected that this arises in the right hemisphere, subserved by the right prefrontal cortex and inferior parietal lobe. The ability to, I'm almost done, the ability to compare duration in time is clearly better performed by the right hemisphere and relies on the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. In fact, virtually all aspects of the appreciation of time, in the sense of something lived through with a past, present, and future, are dependent on the right hemisphere, principally the right prefrontal and parietal cortex. The sense of past or future is severely impaired in right hemisphere damage. And he does all these fascinating studies. He refers to them people who have had lesions on the left brain or on the right brain, or how they can actually anesthetize one side of the brain or the other, and they'll have people perform different functions, and it's amazing how different. It's almost like they're two different people. There's a left and a right, Jekyll, and he's not saying one's bad and one's good. That's not the point. Yeah, they're both important, but in different ways.
Well, because you think about, there's a story of Phineas Gage that every preclinical med student gets it. A guy who was the foreman, I think he was in California, but it was somewhere where they were mining. And he was very affable, gregarious, and he had there was an explosion, and a rod went right up through here and right up top of his head. So it essentially lobotomized him on one side. And he became uninhibited, argumentative, because he lived through it. And that was an early study in, wow, there's something going on in the brain. Because remember, they thought all your stuff came from the heart. Nobody
How long ago was that, though?
1850.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, because one of the signs of obvious death is exposed brain matter, and that's why Gabby Giffords had exposed brain matter when she got shot, but they still saved her life. Yeah. But being a paramedic before I went to med school, there was people that we said, this guy's dead. Like the guy who was beaten to death with a baseball bat. You know, I memean, the guy was dead. Yeah. You know, I mean, we could have worked him, but I was like, to what end? Yeah. You know, but the not knowing what's going on in the brain, because again, that what I think of is Oliver Sacks in the book "The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat."
Oh, yeah, that's funny you should mention
and
that.
It's a bunch of there was a bunch of stories in it, so they're like vignettes. And one of them was about a lawyer who had a tumor resected in his brain, so he lost a section. But he took to taking Post-its and putting them down, and he recreated his ability to do it. He was still able to work as a lawyer by coming up with a visual network for the stuff that he would have remembered before. And then he was able to hook it all together, and that was modifying what he had to do. Because the plasticity of the brain, that if you have an intact corpus callosum, you can do a lot. There's a lot of crosstalk. That's why there's no corpus callosum.
The corpus callosum connecting the two hemispheres. Yeah, that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, like the dolphins don't have that. That's why a dolphin can sleep one hemisphere or the other, because they don't have a corpus callosum. But it's again like this is the most highest priced real estate in your body, and we have to put it to rest that idiotic, you only use 10% of your brain, because you only use 10% of your brain at once. And this is the reason why. Your brain is an apartment that one person lives in, but you use every room in that apartment, just not all at once. Yeah.
But maybe not as efficiently as you could.
Well, but you know that What if you have a peanut butter sandwich instead of making dinner? Or you go in the can, you just take a squirt, even though you could stop and make a dump, but you got to wait because you got somewhere else to go. And then you go to the bedroom and you take a nap. You don't sleep for the night. That's not the most efficient, but that might be the most functional. So that's why, you got to be graphic. You talk about it like a child. I do.
Well, no,
But for the listeners,
it was an interesting scenario, I have to say. It was a very interesting scenario.
very well worded. I liked it.
But it was good. So I am interested in how the brain works. I'm very interested in that.
Great stuff.
And I also, you know what? While you were telling that story about the Post-it notes, it reminded me of that movie. What was the name of that movie?
Memento.
Oh, did you see that movie?
Yeah, I saw it. That gimmick.
Well,
For the viewers, you should tell them what it's about.
Well, it's about a guy. He lost his
He
ability
can't
to
make new memories. He can't make new memories.
And
Yes.
the thing is, he puts tattoos all over his body, and then but when you see the movie, and then you see it again, you realize at the end that it's going backwards.
Now you're ruining it.
Yeah, but so what?
They gave it away.
If you haven't seen the movie,
No,
yet,
nobody will watch it.
Well,
I watched it again after I knew that.
No, there was-
so I could get more information out of it. I loved that movie. I thought it was really well
there-
done.
and-
Did you
and-
see that movie? I'm sorry. What is your name, hon?
Riven.
Riven. Did you see that
Where is she?
movie?
No.
Oh, it's awesome.
I've heard that I had to see it.
It's really awesome. I think you'd love it.
Because there's a thing on the DVD where you can have it play just in order, and it puts it together. And the story is very quotidian, and it becomes very boring when you watch it in order.
Well, I really liked it the way.
No, I know, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I think of 3.5 and 5.3 transcription. And you're like, what the hell's that?
Exactly.
Imagine undoing a zipper because reproduction of genetic material, one of them is away, but the other one has to do a little bit at a time because it's going in the other direction. So when you split it open, this one just goes in a line, but this one is going a little bit, and then it splits open, does a little bit more. That's like Memento, going a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. It can't do it fluidly. The other side is the one that's going like that because they're both they're going in opposite ways, but it's splitting open this only one direction.
Yeah.
That's why this one can transcribe only a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, well, I found it fascinating. I watched it. I was riveted, and then the second time I saw it, it just made so much more sense. Because you could do that in your brain. You could put the pieces together.
indeed.
But that's what it reminded
the
me.
movie, and nothing there is going to spoil it for me.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Okay, I've been listening to you, and I thought you could have 29 movies about Memento, and nothing you said would have spoiled it for me because I understood little of it.
Oh, you got to watch it the second time. That's the only.
At least it's not like my dad who said the great thing about getting old is I can watch the same movie every night. It's new every time.
Well, that's what that's a joke with the old people. New friend, dementia, new friends every day. So
Well, I'll look for
are
it.
you
I
in your
never heard
car?
of- I'm in my car, yes.
I hope
was
you're not
out and about
driving.
and I forgot.
I hope she is.
Still
no,
driving
no,
in
no.
my car. I turn on the radio.
I've seen Gary
yeah.
Newman.
No, that was
You've been here
Springsteen.
listening to us, but you didn't. I didn't see you until just now. Of course, I've been paying attention to
No, that's
Sanford.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get on right at the beginning. I've had things to do, and I'm sitting outside. It's cool and it's quiet, and I realized the time.
It's
And
cool.
realized
Where
I
are
had
you?
Zoom on the phone. I said, "Oh, you know what? I don't have to be at home. I can do this on my telephone."
Absolutely.
Yes, you
And
can,
here you
so-
are.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I am. I did my reading. I don't know if you saw my post. That it was actually not my post. It was Virginia's post. I reposted it about what a woman should have or what she should know, and that's what I read in the beginning. But we've got Sanford was here talking about his fancy brain book.
Oh, okay.
Big words.
I haven't read anything. I've been the last 2 weeks ensconced in everything that 14 and 15-year-old boys like to do when they have a birthday. And
Oh,
graduation.
God.
And what might
games
those
and-
things be?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, they go to Lasertron. They go go-kart driving.
Oh, because it's vacation.
They go to yeah, we had a birthday and we had graduation.
Well,
They run outside and eat everything that's not nailed down.
the biggest ripoff in the Western world is getting sick over the summer. because you're like, what the hell? There's no school to miss. You know, you feel like you got robbed.
Summer cold
Who gets
sucks.
sick during the summer, though? Does that happen often?
Yeah,
Yes.
it might.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm hoping.
I've never encountered
Last
that.
week.
How are you?
I'm just hoping.
Yeah, I was sick last week.
I'm just hoping I don't get
I was
sick.
sick last week
Oh,
with a summer cold.
yeah.
well, you're
Oh,
better
that's-
now. I hope.
No, well, yeah, much better now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
Oh, good. No.
I'm trying
So
to.
now next week we start swimming, so it's swimming every day.
Oh,
You sound excited.
Well, it'll help me do some reading and work on my project while I wait. Because
Yeah.
I'm hoping to put them on the bus and let them go and come back in the system, the public school system, because it's a summer swim development program. He's on a swim team. He said, no, you got to sign him in and sign him out.
Well,
I'm like,
bring
whoa.
bring a notebook and bring a book. Just make sure you
Yeah.
got something there, and then try to get in the quiet corner and take care of yourself.
Putting some.
I will. Well, I started a project on spies, African American spies, during the American Revolution and the American Civil War.
Really?
And
Where are you researching this stuff?
with the Buffalo History Museum.
Awesome.
And then one of the women at ASI, actually, Andrea, she's a PhD in that. Who knew? Like, I didn't know until she was telling me, because I got a grant from them to do it, that she's going to assist. And then, of course, I have to buy everything all the books off Amazon about this. They have a handful. And then I'll go to the Schomburg. And if the president doesn't shut down the African American Museum in D.C., I'll get some stuff from there, too.
That's a great idea.
Well,
for a
Yeah,
book.
it's a
The
really
short
good
story.
idea.
What inspired you to do this specific topic?
Specifically because I've worked on things about African American history because of the lack of exposure and articulation about the role of indigenous people and African American people and the role they played in the development of the Republic. I mean, nobody talks about it, and you hear about the same.
It's gotten worse. Yeah.
Oh, it's getting
And
worse,
it's
yeah.
getting worse.
They're trying to
And
write it out of
so-
history.
Yes, and that was really because I was going to work on another project, actually, African Americans in Japan and the myth of the samurai. But
Oh, wow.
when the president and his henchmen
Yep.
His
started
lackeys.
His dummies.
yeah, I mean
His stooges.
stooges and that
Yeah.
hate guy, Stephen Miller's got to be the devil himself.
Stephen Miller isn't worth the skin he's made of. That guy, I'd punch
None
him in
of
the
them
face. They even call him Weird Stephen.
Oh, he has meltdowns and he's behind this whole big immigration.
I believe
thing
that
with-
too, Celeste. I see that hate in him, and I think to myself,
He looks like a rat.
he's just
Thinks like one,
so. What is he
Yeah,
afraid of? What
Don't
is he
insult rats
afraid
like
of?
that.
People who-
Diversity?
He's just
All
a
right.
heavy racist,
So
and he's
this
the
is
one
what-
that got terrored.
This is what
But, when
I've
I
been.
started hearing that is what sparked me to change my project to say, I'm not going to be marching and protest and this kind of thing like I used to, but I can try to make cultural statements that
I agree.
that make clear that we had roles in the evolution of the Republic.
Yeah, and you know
And,
what? That is so much that because you are a great writer, that is a great way for you to participate. I mean, you have a knack for putting things, synthesizing information and putting it together.
Well, you know who make great spies are people that are discounted, that you don't even notice they're there.
Right.
And when you don't, that when people make assumptions about you, if you're house staff, then they think, well, they can't understand it, so we'll say whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's how
Yeah,
that.
because one of my characters is like that. She had a photographic memory, and the woman who was her quote unquote owner was, and this is an American Civil War, was for the Union. She was not a Confederate, but she befriended the family of Jefferson Davis and a couple of because all plantation owners. And as a result of that friendship, she would loan out this particular woman who had this photographic memory, and she taught to read and memorize. And so every time they had some sort of, get together and all the rest of this at the plantation of the Jefferson Davises and Co., she would be there as part of the house help, if you will, in the kitchen cleaning up. And they didn't think anything about it, so they leave papers and all this other stuff laying around.
Awesome.
And she could just sort of float around and read and memorize. And when she left, she'd get back to her home, share that with her mistress, who passed that on to the Union officers. And in many respects, and I had to get evidence of the dates, which I want to get from the Schomburg and the History Museum, where the Confederacy was thwarted as a result of these types of information exchanges by the unsuspecting. Yeah. But
well,
nobody talks about it.
These things are so important, Celeste. I know that in my undergrad, I took 2 history courses that were titled African American history. And I also, when I was in high school, took one of the first African American history courses that were offered in the Buffalo public school system. And I must say that in college and in high school, they just regurgitated the same names all the time. So what you're saying is so very true, Celeste, and your book is very needed. Thank you so much for taking on this project.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be a book. It's going to be a interdisciplinary performance art piece. I don't have the patience to write a book. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, that's something that is accessible, and people will go and see and be able to absorb, because a lot of people
absorb this knowledge. Exactly.
A lot of people just don't read books. The show started off as a show about books, and we basically don't get around to it much. but the thing is, it's great that you're doing this project, and I haven't even reached out to Richard yet today. He's always got a list, and I'm not going to be doing the show for the next 3 weeks because Greg had asked me to be part of this party thing. We have three friends with 3 birthday parties.
You have to party all the time, like Eddie Murphy.
Party all the time. So it helps him. It helps him so much when we socialize. And I hate to, say, I can't because. So anyway, I'm doing it because he comes back, revitalized and energized from these experiences.
Oh, when's his next Painkillers show?
I don't know,
because he's really good.
But I want Richard to come. I want Richard. What's on your list that you wanted to talk about today? Because we're more than halfway through the show.
I'm fascinated by Wachowiak the bear.
Who is Wachowiak?
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Who's Wachowiak? Who's Wachowiak the bear?
Is that the bear women would choose?
Okay, so
it's not the show, the television show.
It's no television.
Oh, okay.
This would make a good movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This would. A lot of people have wondered why this was never made into a movie.
Okay.
So it's the Second World War, and all the different people who participate for the Allies against the Axis. The armies are being shifted around. So a division of Polish troops.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, now I got it.
I don't know. I got the division of Polish troops.
Yes.
They get sent to Siberia, out of concern that the Nazis are going to try to invade that way into Russia. So they're fighting in Siberia, and then one day they come across a scene that's very heartbroken where the mother bear has been killed. There's a little baby bear cub. And then the question is, well, what do we do with the cub? And this one officer named Peter says, we can take care of it. He picks up the little cub, takes a vodka bottle, empties it out, puts
it out, good. Yeah.
Puts powdered milk in it, water, right? Hey, look, he likes it, right? And the other soldiers say, yeah, let's keep him. And the officers say, hey, this is pretty good for morale. These people are been shot at and everything, and take their minds off of it. So Wachowiak the bear becomes part of the division. And as the years go on, something they never would have forecast in their predictions starts to take place. And that is the bear starts to think it's human.
Wow.
So, for example, right, the bear looks at the people when they're doing their marching. Well, the bear wants to march too, so it gets up on its hind legs and it starts marching with the men. Okay.
Wow.
So then the bear notices that they sit around the campfire drinking vodka and smoking cigarettes. The bear wants to sit around the campfire. He wants the vodka, right? And when they give him the cigarettes, he eats them. So the bear becomes beloved, and all the people in the troop, they see he's trying to become more human, so they interact with him more. They talk to him a lot. The men like to wrestle with the bear, and
It's good exercise.
and so what happens then is the division gets relocated during the invasion of Italy to Monte Cassino. Heavy battles going on in Italy, and now they're under fire. Okay, and they're being shot at because if they can take Monte Cassino, the monastery there,
Yeah.
that will be the last stronghold of the Nazi resistance. Okay, so the Nazis are hanging on to this with everything they got. So they're under fire, and you know what the bear does? He realizes he doesn't have a role, so he goes up to the soldiers and he holds his arms out, and they're wondering, what's he trying to tell us? Oh, he wants to carry something. So when you talked about that, Sanford talked about this big 200-pound thing that he had to lug from his car to clean his pool. That's the kind of thing Wachowiak would want to do.
I wish he was there.
So
Yeah.
so Wachowiak says, give me something. So they give him this huge, heavy box of artillery, and they point to the machine gunner, and he's walking through the gunfire, and he's dropping it off. Then he's coming back. He wants the next crate of ammunition, and the soldiers are so impressed by this that when this battle is over, they ask the commander. Every division has a patch. Can we have our patch, the bear holding?
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
And they make that the patch of the division. So the war starts to end. And the British say to the Polish division, okay, well, the war is over now. And the Poles say, we just heard from the Russians, don't come back to Poland. Because Stalin did not want an armed military in Poland.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy.
And they told that to the British, and the British said, come on to Great Britain. So the whole division gets sent to Great Britain to figure out what their next move is going to be. And what do you think happened there? Well, the bear, he always wants to be part of the action.
Yeah.
He's socializing with the people in the town. He's giving the kids rides. You know what I mean? He's playing their games with them. He's trying to play soccer.
He's right there.
Wow.
Yeah, there he is. There's Wachowiak as a cub, and and the people of Edinburgh, Scotland, where they start to really like the bear. Okay, so time, as you have said, is an important element in this because people's, you only sign up for a next number of years, and then you're out of the military. Now you can go back to Poland because you're not a soldier anymore. So fewer and fewer of the original people are there. The question is, what do we do with the bear? And he has made himself so endeared to the people of Edinburgh that they decide, well, if push comes to shove, we will keep him and we'll give him a special enclosure at the zoo. And they said, this is a great idea, let's do it. So he gets his own little Wachowiak spot, and he loves it when the soldiers visit him because they speak Polish to him.
And he
And he
understands.
understands Polish.
Yeah.
See, he doesn't understand English. And in fact, the soldiers say to the zookeeper, let us in there. We want to wrestle with him. You sure? Yeah, we do. They go in there. They're wrestling with the bear. They're having a good time. And they all said the most heartbreaking thing was when they had to leave because the bear couldn't leave with them. Like, you're my family, And they were in tears, when they left. So it was quite the episode in the history of human-animal interaction.
How did you
Absolutely.
come
What
across
was-
the story?
someone did a YouTube video about the whole history of Wachowiak the bear.
What's Wachowiak's fate ultimately? Did he die of a broken heart? Because that seems like a recipe for pain and suffering once they all left.
It's very astute of you, because soon as fewer and fewer
Day.
I love it.
as fewer and fewer soldiers came to visit him, he became less and less active. And then the question is was this a depression? Mm-hmm. Because he died at 12 years old.
They could have given him a
How
girlfriend.
How long do they?
No, he was 21.
How long do they usually live to? What's their life
Yeah, how long does a
expectancy
bear
usually?
live?
I thought in the wild they get about 15 years, but Wojtek lived to 21.
Oh,
But
so, yeah.
remember, the life of any wild animal is nasty, brutish, and short.
Right, because
So-
they're in the wild.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I wonder, did they give him a girlfriend?
Well, what would he do? I mean,
Where
he
would
would
they
know
find
what to
one?
do,
Yeah,
right?
would he know what
Where
to
would
do?
they? Yeah, he would know.
It's just
Where would they
like
find one?
It's just like
She woulda.
Barbara Kingsolver who wrote this book about she did a farm, like a grassroots kind of farm with her family, and they were raising turkeys. And apparently turkeys have been artificially inseminated for many years. The turkeys, they had to teach the turkeys how to have sex
Jive turkeys.
so that they could breed, because they weren't going to do anything like that. So the thing is, I read this passage. I must have read it 15 times over and over again. I laughed so hard I thought I was going to die, because they had to teach the turkeys how to have sex. It's natural, but the thing is, if it's bred out of you for so long, plus the fact that the turkey breasts are always so large, there was something that was getting in the way of because in the wild the turkeys don't look like that. They're kind of scrawny looking.
But they're more svelte than scrawny.
Okay, svelte.
Yeah,
Yeah, they ain't scrawny. You're right.
Yeah. No, they're
just
not
more
really scrawny,
toned,
but they're right. They're different. They're different than a butterball.
Right.
like big lots. They're
They haven't been
different.
subjected to capitalist marketing
Yeah,
schemes.
exactly. Exactly.
I don't know. The
Guys,
three that are
yeah.
over in Fletcher and Tonawanda don't seem to have a problem.
Where's it, town or city?
City.
Yeah.
Ooh,
All
They go right
turkeys.
over in Fletcher and
Yeah,
between Bauk and Franklin, and usually they're in an intersection. And what people think is fighting is not what they're doing.
Yeah,
playing,
no,
right?
But
And
the-
everybody is holed up all over the
Right.
place and can't go anywhere
The
because they're
wild yeah.
right in the middle of that intersection.
the wild turkeys never had it bred out of them, though.
No.
It's just the
That's a
domesticated.
good drink.
Didn't
wild
have anything
turkey.
bred out of them.
You know what? That
Yeah.
Barbara Kingsolver book is fascinating. It is a whole different look at the world. She's a great writer. I can't remember what it was called, but it was her and her family spent a whole year on a farm, and they raised their own food. They sold eggs. They did all this stuff, and they'd never done it before. So it was eye opening. It was really
That was
interesting.
probably
A lot
the
of hard
bear's
work.
problem too, right?
What's
the
that?
bear wouldn't know how to speak to the natural bear because it was accustomed to
Right.
a human
Right.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he'll teach her how to speak Polish.
Oh, that would be interesting.
It's an activity.
That sounds like a big argument.
Maybe the bear would prefer a Polish human.
Be a short argument. Neither one of them speaking each other's languages.
If the bear can say "Dami zimno pivo," that's all it needs to say. That's "get me a cold beer" in Polish.
Is it? You know more Polish than me, and I'm Polish American.
Besides dupa.
Now,
So I'm half Polish also.
Well, that,
Wojciech was so attuned to what the
we all
soldiers
are.
were interested in that when they were in Italy and they would come across a pond and there would be women bathing or swimming in the pond, how do you think he knew how to do this? But he knew the soldiers wanted to meet the women. So he would dive in the water, he would swim all the way to where the women were, and then come up real slow next to him. Oh, no, a bear! And they would run for the soldiers to save them.
That's really.
That's one hell of a wingman.
That's
Right? I was going to say, that's a wingman for sure.
That's a wingman.
That's awesome.
Blacks or drums.
That's a great story. I mean, you were just like looking around on YouTube and you came
I
across
like
it.
this particular series.
has been open for an hour.
What's been open?
When somebody left the back door open.
Oh, okay.
And we have to thank Tom Windsor. He alerted me that I could get these notifications. What was the last question you asked me?
How did you come across
How did you
this?
come across it?
Oh, yeah. There's a series called And the Rest is History. It's really fascinating because what they do is for example, I didn't know during the Irish War of Independence in 1920s the importance of Lloyd George. He was the British Prime Minister at the time. He was an intense negotiator. And he would use these strategies to get the Irish to accept being they wanted to be a republic, but he wanted them to be part of Great Britain.
Right.
And so he would use these interesting strategies to try to get the Irish to go along with them. For example, he would say at one meeting, well, we don't seem to be getting along, on this topic at all. We're not really going anywhere. And there were 4 negotiators. And he would say to 2 of them as they're getting up to go, oh, Michael and John, can you just stay behind?
Like Columbo.
Like a little private meeting, all right, where he could talk to him in a more intimate way. Not only because of that, but he wanted the other 2 negotiators to look, what's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about?
Yeah. So kind of psychological warfare.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, okay. So now what, Virginia, are you reading anything or writing anything these days?
Well, I'm not writing anything these days, but I did pick up a book today that I've been wanting to read for a long time. And I'm sure you've heard of it. It was a New York Times bestseller. It was written by Admiral William H. McRaven.
Oh, Bill McRaven. Yeah.
Yes. And it's called Make Your Bed. And little things that can change your life and maybe the world. So I've been wanting to read this book since it came out. Now, it came out, I think over a decade ago. And I wanted to read it. And a friend of mine brought it over and left it at my house by mistake.
Perfect.
Yes, I just picked it up now. And so 10 years ago, the Admiral addressed the graduating class of the University of Texas at Austin on their commencement day. And his speech was so inspirational that people asked him to write the book.
Oh, okay.
I saw that speech. That is inspiring. It's really
Was that-
good. Yeah.
Bill McRaven was the first Special Forces Command, like the U.S. Southern Command, Special Forces Command. Bill McRaven was the first one. He's a SEAL.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and Navy SEAL, exactly. Yeah. And in the speech, he revealed the 10 basic principles that he learned being a Navy SEAL. That was in the speech. And the book is it's not that long, and it's really an easy read, and it's only 128 pages, but
wow.
the pages are really short. So, the book is a short book.
So it's like tenants, there'd be something right in the middle of the page. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's so I'm really looking forward to sink my teeth into this and read it. I'm really looking forward to it. I just picked it up today, so I don't really have much to comment.
So is this the book that your friend left accidentally at your house, or did you buy your own copy?
Oh, a friend of mine who's in California right now accidentally left them at my house, and I was like, I've been wanting to read this book.
So it sort of just popped up in your sphere of the universe. That's cool.
Right, and my friends in California, so they don't need to read it while they're in California.
So there you go. You got your book.
Yeah, and this admiral retired from the Navy. He just didn't do his time and get out. He retired from the Navy. So yeah, and I do make my bed every day. So yeah.
Now that's an interesting point. I don't know if you know this, but Virginia does a lot of work with post-traumatic stress victims at Veterans Hospital.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. No, I did not know that.
It's reached the point where they've asked her to be on the board of directors of Veterans Hospital.
Wow.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, they've asked me to be on a committee.
Okay.
So So I'm thinking about being on the committee. However, like most veterans, I like to feel like I'm accomplishing something. So I don't want to be on a committee that doesn't do anything. So
I see. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be on one of these committees that, oh, you just meet for like once a month and you really don't accomplish anything. So
Well, maybe you would be the catalyst for them accomplishing something.
no. So I don't know about that. So I'm like researching this committee.
Okay.
And
Well,
and
talk to some of the members too. See if you can get a hold of some of the names of the people on the committee.
Oh, well, I have talked to people on the committee. I have talked to people that are on the committee, and so I'm thinking about it. I haven't decided whether or not I want to be on the committee, but I've done vision boards with people at the VAMC, and I'm hoping to do a sound bath there. I'm hoping to do a sound bath there.
Nice.
I'm hoping to do that. We'll see. I don't imagine them telling me no. I
Well, that's
really
good.
don't.
That's good. If you have to imagine them telling you yes, and because
Yeah, but I recently spoke with some people that do equine therapy in Fredonia with veterans and first responders, and in the fall I'll be doing a sound bath with them for a fundraiser for them. Yeah, so with these beautiful horses, they're like wonderful horses. So
Yeah.
yes,
I
so
had
I'm
a
excited
friend,
about
yeah.
that.
The stables over here on Amherst, don't they do that with children? Would they be a viable partner?
I don't know. Maybe I can go over and talk to them to see if they want me to do a sound bath there. But the place in Fredonia, it's a ranch owned by a Marine colonel and a first lieutenant Marine and somebody who's now a pilot from the Air Force. So the ranch is owned by military people, and it's specifically for first responders and veterans that they do the therapy for. So it's not like with children or whatever. It's for people who have experienced trauma. So
yeah, I've seen and heard about those programs, and they're pretty miraculous for how the veterans respond to the time spent with the animals and the program, and how it's, coming from a military family, I'm always interested in how things are evolving in care for veterans, because our family, were shortchanged on a lot of it. And so those who served, they suffered quite a bit.
yes, I understand that. Now this ranch it's only been open since November, and they've already had veterans and first responders come from across the country.
Yeah.
Really
That's
feathering.
great.
Yeah, they do the same kind of therapy with people with disabilities and autistic kids with the horses. It is amazing. They just really bond with the horses. I don't know what it is exactly.
Because horses are amazing creatures.
They are. They're
They're very smart, very sensitive.
My uncle had a farm, and
Yeah.
he had a horse that was abused,
Oh,
and
boy.
he didn't know that when he got the horse, and the horse hated everybody but me.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I just didn't. I kind of ignored his bad behavior
Were you
until he was.
were you a
good.
child when this
I was about
happened?
16.
There's something about kids and
Yeah.
animals. They know.
Well, he kept
they
him
have-
for 2 years, and after 2 years, I went off to, I was heading off to college and stuff like that, and so he found a better home where, it
Yeah.
wasn't, because I was the only one that could feed him. I'm the only one that could go near him. He tried to bite everybody but me. It was like, he tried to bite me once, and I just looked at him, was like, listen, I got some problems, but I'm not the one. Okay, I got food. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to take care of your stall. I'm going to brush you, everything like that. But we're going to have a little chat here. And after I had my little chat with him, he just kind of calmed down a little bit, stopped trying to bite my shoulder.
It's-
But everybody else was fair
There's
game.
There's a lot with animals with tone of voice. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
That's
What a
cool.
great story.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here we are. We've got 1 minute and 17 seconds left. Does anybody did anybody want to say something that they didn't get to say? And
It was about 30 years ago. Andrew Greeley, who's now dead, he was a priest who's also an author. I read a bunch of his books, 8 of his books over one Christmas break, 3,000 pages.
Wow.
But he wrote a book that was called All About Women, and women scoffed. They were like, oh, no, it wasn't all about women. The stories were all about women.
Right.
It wasn't that.
Wow. Oh, wow.
You know, but I mean, that's one of the vagaries of English language.
Oh,
you know?
it's like in that Twilight Zone where the aliens have that book called "To Serve Man."
It's a cookbook. But the best Twilight Zone is Burgess Meredith, who finally has time to read, and he breaks his glasses.
Yes.
All the time in the
It's like
world.
the
I think
show.
All the time in the world,
yeah.
It's on I think it's Amazon Prime has those Twilight Zone episodes. They're all I was
You gotta watch
flicking
out.
I
around.
love the Twilight Zone. I love the Twilight Zone.
It's cool.
You got to watch out when they
Me too.
rebroadcast them on mainstream networks because they digitally pitch it up so it runs faster to squeeze more commercials in, so it doesn't have the same feel as it did when it was originally broadcasted.
we
so
are-
be aware
we
of
are
that.
done.
Okay, thank you everyone. This was
Thank you.